Hi, welcome to my YouTube channel. I thought I would do a video on my horrible Mirena nightmare. I guess I'll give a little bit of backstory. When I was 18, I was told if I was to have a child, I would like to get pregnant, even though it was unlikely. If I did, I would be likely to miscarry. Well, at 19, I ended up pregnant after a year of trying, even though I knew the risks. At 20, I delivered a very healthy 8-pound, 11-ounce baby, and was pretty happy with it. Loved the little fella half to death. Well, the following August, I was supposed to have a tubal, because being pregnant risked my life and the baby's, and one was more than enough for us. Well, I went in for my tubal, and my calcium was too low. The anesthesiologist would not put me out. I have a lot of prior medical problems. They told me, due to the fact that I only had one ovary and my other medical problems, that I couldn't get pregnant anyway, so there was no point in doing the tubal. Fast forward 5 more years, I don't feel right, so I decided to take a pregnancy test. Got a positive. After having a lot of, and I didn't mean a lot of ultrasounds, I think I had ultrasounds every 2 to 3 weeks during my pregnancy to check the baby's muscles being his heart, and bone development. I ended up delivering at 37 weeks. During my C-section, I had a beautiful baby boy, perfectly healthy with the exception of the fact that he had fluid on his lungs and then developed pneumonia. We were both in the hospital for a week, him in the NICU and me on bed rest in the stupid hospital bed. Well, while they were doing my C-section, they were supposed to do a tubal. But turns out I lost too much blood mixed with my low calcium and my heart rate going fast. They decided that the C-section and a tubal was not an option. The doctor recommended that I have, instead of having a tubal during a later surgery, that I just have a partial hysterectomy to help keep my calcium up and help with my severe anemia. Well, I couldn't find a doctor that would do a partial hysterectomy local, well, within a 200-mile span, on anyone under 30 without medical cause that they seem fit. And the doctor that did my delivery just does deliveries, because he's a high-risk OBGYN. So the doctor that I was seeing recommended that I go for the Mirena until I'm 30, being that I was 26 when it was inserted. And I was like, well, that's okay, because it lasts 5 years. So I go in, and they insert it, which was horribly painful because I had 2 prior C-sections. I had never actually experienced real labor, so my cervix was hard and closed. They had to dilate me, which hurt horribly. I thought I was going to black out. Horrible. I poured the blood after, and they had a really difficult time getting it put in. I think it took about 25 minutes for something that they said on average lasts about 10. After having it put in, about a month later, I had the worst period of my life. And I do mean the worst period of my life. I'm sorry if that's too much info, but it was. I had worse clots and a heavier flow than I had after both of my pregnancies and delivering kids, worse. I actually went through the efforts of taking a picture of one of the clots to show the doctor because I was highly concerned. And 3 weeks later, I went for my follow-up to check the strings, and they could not find the strings. So they ordered an ultrasound. Yay, ultrasound, right? So I go for the ultrasound the next week, and they could not find it in my uterus at all. The tech said that it could still be in my uterus because I have a retroverted uterus, which means it tilts to the back instead of straight up or forward. And she said it could be near the top of my uterus in the back, and they can't see with the probe that far because my pelvic bone was stopping the view. So a week later, I go see the doctor to go over the results of the ultrasound. The ultrasound once again says, nope, it's not in there. So the doctor orders an x-ray. Yay, x-ray, right? So I go forward with the x-ray, and I asked the guy who did it if I could see the x-ray before I left, because I was naturally curious. Well, I noticed in the x-ray on my left side, near my left hip bone, was where the little T is, because the Mirena is shaped like a T. About an inch, an inch tall, but it's shaped like a T. Up behind my left hip bone. And I'm like looking at it, and the guy's looking at it, and he says, "You know what you see, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's not in the right spot." So 2 days later, I was supposed to go and see the doctor, but he had to do a delivery. So my appointment was canceled and pushed off. So I had to go the next Tuesday. And the doctor does not look at the x-rays, which completely baffles me, because, I mean, what's the point in ordering if you're not going to look at it? So he just goes by the radiologist's report. And in that report it says that the Mirena is localized in the upper left part of my pelvis in normal position. So my doctor takes that to believe that it's in the upper left part of my uterus in a normal position. So I told the doctor what I've seen, and I requested it for further investigation. So he decides that he's going to have an MRI done, and they would call me in 24 hours with the results of the MRI. I'm like, okay, so I leave the doctor's office. And on my way home, I decided to go pick up a copy of the x-ray, because I want a second opinion. So I go home, and I show everybody, because, I was like, there's no way that I was just seeing what I was seeing. Hang on one second. Oh, okay. My Mirena. It's right there. And according to him, it's in my uterus, which is this brown spot right here. So I took it to the doctor. After they didn't call within 24 hours, I took it to the doctor, and another doctor, she looks at it, and she's like, well, that's not in place. But I have to have a radiologist look over it himself to get another report, which of course gives me my second opinion. So now I'm waiting on the second opinion. The phone call was hit, and then my other doctor's office calls, the one that actually put the Mirena in, and they're like, well, he decided that he doesn't want to do an MRI. He wants to do another set of x-rays. He wants a side abdominal and a forward abdominal, one being much like the last one that was done. I'm like, okay, just call me when you have the appointment set out. And she's like, well, she calls back about 2 hours later, and she's like, well, you don't need to make an appointment, you just need to come in. And I'm like, well, okay. So now it's a matter of how many more medical charges am I going to have to be? How many more weeks do I have to wait until I have the ability to have it out? And along with just knowing that it's not in the right place, I'm having a sharp pain in my left side, a low-grade fever, which sometimes reaches 101. I'm really bloated. I am on 18 days of a period that is heavy and clotty. Sorry if that's too much info. And I am horribly swollen in my abdomen. Mind you, I have an autoimmune disease. And the autoimmune disease that I have makes my body attack stuff that is foreign. Therefore, if it's attacking that, I'm at a higher risk for infection. But according to the doctor, it's still in my uterus. I'm tired of waiting, and I'm terrified that I'm going to get an infection and get sick. Don't get me wrong, I'm not telling you not to go get the Mirena if you want the Mirena. But make sure you look into all the possible side effects and problems that come along with it before you do.